Welcome in, guys. My name is Paul Procyse. Thanks for dropping by. So they threw out the trash on Friday afternoon, and of course, they threw out the trash on the strike, the ISIS-K strike, when they needed to look amazing and powerful and just macho because they were failing at Afghanistan. So they did this amazing drone strike and they were beating their chest. Look how amazing we are. And then it turns out that they killed an entire family of 10. Turns out that they actually killed an aid worker and his entire family. So they threw it out in the trash. What that means is they hope on a Friday afternoon when nobody's really looking, everybody's getting out of work or they're worrying about what they're going to do for the weekend, and they sneak this stuff out. Now, it used to be easier to do this when it wasn't on a constant news cycle and everybody had a podcast or whatever. But this is a big story and we need to put this out there. Now, what they're doing, this administration, is forcing the Pentagon to take the fall, but we all know that this wasn't the Pentagon's call. Now, what they're saying is that they followed this guy for 8 hours and they were convinced, but this was a political hit. We need to find out who made the call on this, because we know that the Pentagon was not in charge of this. Now we know, maybe it was it Lloyd Austin that made this call? Was it Biden? I almost said Ben Biden and like Bin Laden, like some weird Freudian slip there. So who made this call? Who made the call for this? Unfortunately, it was some drone pilot in Kuwait or, one of the islands that we have these guys stationed. So some 27-year-old drone pilot stationed from over the horizon strikes. So some kid pulled the trigger, of course. It's going to have this guilty conscience for the rest of his life, ultimately pulled the trigger. But who's the one that signed off on this? That's what we need to find out. And there needs to be hearings on this. We need to know who made the call. Now, we know that who rolled this out. In this report, General Frank McKenzie of U.S. Central Command, he's the one that comes out and fell on the sword. He says this strike was taken in the earnest belief that it would prevent an imminent threat. Now, this strike happened after the bombings that killed 13 soldiers. So they followed him, this guy that was supposedly ISIS-K, but he was an aid worker. And I want to know how if we don't have foreign agents or U.S. agents on the ground, how are they doing this investigation? Because they're saying after a thorough investigation. So how are these thorough investigations happening? Our investigation now concludes that this strike was a tragic mistake. Well, how are you getting this investigation done? This strike was taken in the earnest belief. What earnest belief? How are you getting this done? How are you able to follow him for 8 hours? None of this makes any sense. None of this makes any sense. Pentagon chief also said that he had directed a review of the CENTCOM investigation to see whether it considered all available context and information to the degree which accountable measures need to be taken and at what level. And the degree, all of this is just lip service. Oh, we're doing a thorough investigation and everybody's under the review. That's such bullcrap, and we know it. Who needs to be held accountable? And we know that they're not going to the Senate Judiciary Committees or Senate, not Judiciary Committees, but the intelligence communities. They're not their committees, and they're not even being there when they're being called for investigation. This is a big deal. We need to get to the bottom of this. And it's even bigger deal when we find out that the Joint Chiefs of Staff is making calls to China. This military is out of control at the highest of levels. Who in the highest of levels are making these decisions? We need to know who's making these calls. And if the buck stops with Biden, then we need to find out what kind of crazy-ass decision-making skills this guy has. Because this, killing civilians, and we need to go back. I mean, I've called out, now I wasn't doing public statements at the time, but I was furious with bad drone strikes, even under Trump. And I was furious with bad drone strikes going back to Obama. And I was furious with bad drone strikes going back to Bush. So before you start clacking off and these liberals are like, "Go, but Trump," trust me, I have been consistent for 20 years on this bullcrap. So anybody that claims partisan bullcrap on this, I have hated the Afghanistan war for 20 years. So before anybody calls me out and says, "Oh, you're such a hypocrite," well, screw you on all of that, because I have hated it since day one. I don't think we needed to be there. But since we're there, and if we're going to do it, then we need to be effective and do the job right. We need to support our soldiers. We need to do everything to the best of our ability. And this is not it. Killing civilians is not what we should be about. And we need to do everything to the best of our ability. And this is bad intelligence. This is bad leadership. And this was a political hit to say, "Oh, look at us. We can do it." Over the horizon bullcrap that Biden keeps repeating. We need to do over the horizon, over the horizon. This is what he was trying to do. And I guarantee you that's what that was. So it was either him, Biden, saying, "Get us one," so we can say over the horizon a bunch of times, so we can look powerful come September 11th. I guarantee you that's really what it was about. Get us one. I'm guaranteeing you that's what this was all about. And they screwed the pooch. And they killed an entire innocent family and a bunch of really precious children. But we don't hear the mainstream media calling this out, do we? Because they don't care about the lives of these kids. Find me on Paul Procise. Go to my About page. Support me on any of the things that I do. If you'd like to get some great Built Bar, built.com, promo code Paul. Check this one out. This is great. Banana cream pie marshmallow. This is delicious. It's not even a candy bar. It's like a marshmallowy something or other. Built.com, promo code Paul. Get it today while it lasts. There's actually some other flavors on these things coming out real soon. Delicious. All right, guys. We'll see you soon. Bye.